If you're a gamer, like myself, you've probably heard this debate far too many times, whether that be on the internet, with a friend, in person, maybe you've even defended a side for yourself. Of course, as the vast majority of you who read the title of this video would know, I'm talking about the age-old debate of PlayStation versus Xbox. Since the Xbox came out as a console, Microsoft and Sony have been battling out in the gaming space. But today, as an unqualified high school student who plays some games on his funny screens, I will be settling this debate once and for all. Or at least I would be if anyone cared at all. So, let's start with technical specs, GPU and CPU. I'm choosing these two components because they're arguably the most important in a console or PC. Obviously we're talking about consoles here, but PCs use the same stuff. But why are they important? Good thing I'm going to tell you. GPU stands for Graphics Processing Unit, and if you are not a glorified grapefruit, you should be able to decipher that one. The Graphics Processing Unit does exactly what it sounds like. It processes all your graphics. So if you don't have a good graphics card, you can kiss those sweet, buttery, smooth 4K shots goodbye. For the sake of this argument, instead of using every single iteration of the PlayStation and every single iteration of the Xbox, I'm just going to be using the most recent and most powerful iterations, which are the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. The capabilities of your GPU are typically measured in what's called compute units. And the weird thing is that they actually differ from company to company what a compute unit is, which is really bizarre. But the good news is that the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, their graphics card, their graphics processing unit, their GPU, if you will, is made by the same company. So the compute units are the same between the two. Alright, now the CPU. The CPU stands for Central Processing Unit, and this is the brains of your console in this case, or sometimes PC. So the better the CPU, the faster programs will run, the shorter loading times will be for games. Your computer has the capability to process things better. See what I did there? See, I did a little funny joke. Haha. Never mind. Your CPU's capabilities are measured in what's called CPU cores, and most CPUs have 4 cores or 8 cores. That's in most consoles or computers, but they can't go up to 28 cores, which is ridiculous. I think with 28 cores, you'd pretty much be able to run anything you wanted to. At like any frame rate, it'd be ridiculous. I don't know why you need that many cores. Get them out of here. You don't need that many. Alright, so now, let's compare the GPUs and CPUs of the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. BAM! They're here. It's here. I'm gonna edit it in right here and do a fantastic job. It would be really funny if it wasn't there, but it's right there. So, we see that the Xbox One X has 6 more compute units than the PS4 Pro, but they have the exact same amount of CPU cores. Interesting little tidbit about the CPU. CPU is actually the exact same in both consoles from the exact same company, and it was a special CPU designed for consoles, and it has like a whole nickname and stuff, and it's literally the exact same one in both of them. So if I really wanted to, I could actually just cross CPU right off this list. No CPU, but I'm still putting it on there anyway, just because it looks like I did more work than I needed to. Okay. So most people would say that GPU and CPU are pretty important, but in this case they're also really similar, and I'm going to get more into that a little bit later in the video. But let's throw in some other little factors that you might consider if you're choosing between these two consoles. First of all, we have price, which I'm not going to spend too much time on. Why did I write that in the... Oh, man. I really went hard on the dad jokes. The MSRP of the Xbox One X clocks in at $500 US and the PS4 Pro at $400 US. Alright, let's talk controllers now. Both consoles have completely unique controllers to go along with them. I think if you're really smart, unlike me, you could probably use any controller with any console, but once again, really smart. So I'm just going to be, for the sake of this video, saying that the only controller that you can use with the console are the ones designed for the console, and the ones that come with the consoles are the ones that I'm going to talk about. There are off-brand controllers that exist, like I know Razer, which is a gaming company, makes controllers for both the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 that are like pro gamer controller, $5 million to buy it kind of controllers. So whenever you're using your console, you're using your controller too. That's why it's really important that you have a good controller. So what I've done is I've taken the average rating of each controller, so out of like the 5-star rating that you get on most online shopping websites, I've taken the rating of each controller from Amazon, GameStop, Best Buy, Target, and Walmart, and then I put them in a spreadsheet, and then I average them out, so I have an average controller rating for the Xbox One controller and the DualShock 4. So the Xbox One controller scored a 4.6 overall out of 5, and the DualShock 4 scored a 4.52. So, as you can see, everything so far has been extremely close. Now we're gonna kind of shift into something that spreads them apart a little bit. The race becomes a little bit less close. And this is something that I'm sure many others consider to be one of, if not the most important thing in a console, and that is exclusive games. Now, exclusive games are a super important factor when you're looking to buy a console, because maybe there's some game you really want to play, but it's only available on Xbox, or more realistically, and I'll get into that into a minute, it's only on PlayStation. Part of the reason why Nintendo is such a successful company is because not only do they make fantastic AAA titles, but they also make the only consoles that you can play it on. So if you want to play Pokemon Sword or the new Animal Crossing game, you need to buy a Switch or Switch Lite. It's a pretty good business plan. So now into the details of what took most of my time on this project besides writing this script. And that is getting an average score out of 10, an average IGN score for every single exclusive game on both PlayStation and Xbox. So I took a list of every single exclusive game from both PlayStation and Xbox, and then I went to IGN and manually searched every single one in, and then manually typed in the rating into my Excel spreadsheet, and then took an average of them. Another thing that I just thought I should mention here is that I didn't include any games that utilize PlayStation VR or the Xbox Kinect. But the reason why I didn't do any PlayStation VR games that require you to use VR or Xbox Kinect games that require you to use Kinect is because you can buy the consoles without them, so they're kind of like add-ons. So the PlayStation scored an 8.02 for their average rating out of 10 for all of their exclusive games, and the Xbox One a 7.43. Okay, so let's talk about why the Xbox's score is so low in this category. So first of all, PlayStation 4 has 86 exclusive games, and the Xbox One has only 33. So there's already a big difference here in terms of, good exclusive games, because if you don't have as many exclusive games, period, not as many of them are going to be good. And then more importantly, out of those 33 exclusive games that Xbox has, only 10 of them actually have reviews on IGN, and the vast majority of the games that don't have reviews out of those 33 don't even have a game page. They're simply that unknown and bad. So many of these games that are, Xbox One exclusives are the kind of games like Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort, where it's like, oh, this game came free with the console. But the difference is that Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort were good games. These games are terrible. I should also mention that many of the PlayStation 4 exclusive titles are AAA games, and what that means is that they're made by big studios with a big budget, and it takes, sometimes even years to complete the games. A perfect example of this is the Spider-Man game. That came out a while ago, and people were going crazy about it, and it was only released on PlayStation. So that's part of the reason why PlayStation got a really good score, and why the Xbox didn't get as good of a score. Alright, now, at this point, I could show you my entire cool spreadsheet, and we could be done. You can make your own decision as to which console is better, and we could call it a day. But I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm gonna tell you which one is better. This is me trying to be as objective as possible. This is not me, saying, I like green, so the Xbox wins. You may have noticed that all the data I've presented to you thus far has been numerical. It's not, this is good, so yes, or this is bad, so no. It's all numbers. So what I've done is I've used my massive brain and help from my dad. I took all these numbers in the Excel spreadsheet and I did some really cool math. And I now have a numerical value for each console that represents how good the console is. So I now reveal to you the rest of my Excel spreadsheet that I've been hiding from you all this time, and I'm going to go over to this side of the room so I have room to put it over here when I edit the video. Each of these values is basically being put onto their own kind of scale, like a scale of 1 to 10, except the maximum value is the value of whichever console scored better in that category. So that was a long sentence that didn't make sense, but for average rating of exclusive games, the max would be 8.02 and the minimum will be 0. So the lower the number it is, the worse, except for price, in which this whole thing is underneath 1. So it's 1 divided by, and then the whole thing that I just explained, because that inverts it. Or at least that's what my dad told me when he put it into the spreadsheet. You may have noticed this little category that says waiting, and there's little percents there. What I've done is I've taken each category and I've given it a weight so that certain things are more important than others. And this bit is a little bit more subjective, but I think in general, it makes sense because the 3 that are at 10%, they are pretty close. Now for exclusive games and controller, I weighted those so that both of those categories combined make up 70%. And the reason why I did this is because most people are probably going to care about that most. If you plug them both in and watch them perform at the same time, they're going to perform at the same speeds and they're going to perform with generally the same level of graphics. If you don't like the way the controller feels in your hands, every single time you go to play on the console, the controller is not going to feel good in your hands. If you want to play the Spider-Man game and you don't have a PlayStation, every single time you get onto your Xbox and you want to play the Spider-Man game, you're not going to be able to. These are things that affect you for, the entirety of the time that you have the console. More importantly, they mean more to players. Exclusive games is one of the biggest arguments that people give when discussing PlayStation versus Xbox, and so is the controller. So that's why I weighted those higher. And now we've got for each console a row of numbers. So many numbers, wow, but they're all in a decimal place. So I added them all together, and then it was just a decimal, so I wanted it to look cool. So then I multiply it by 100 at the end to give it 2 place values before it goes into decimals. Alrighty, now it's time for the big reveal. Who wins? Who wins the battle? I'll tell ya, the Xbox One X scores a 19.485, and drum roll please, the PlayStation 4 Pro scores a 20.178. So, yes, the PlayStation won, but not by a whole lot. Microsoft and Sony have both really done a fantastic job making these consoles here. And you can go and take this calculation as gospel and go buy yourself a PS4 Pro and say, Xbox sucks. But I'm not going to recommend that you go do that because we're talking about such a small difference in the scores. And in all honesty, they're both fantastic consoles. If you want to take my word for it, go buy whichever one you want. Gotta take a sip. Delicious. Is what I'm looking at here, and I'm gonna redo all of that because that's not written in my script, and it sounded terrible, so I'm gonna redo that. Don't go back to the grapefruit thing, that's not funny. Now I gotta scroll down to my funny script here. Haha, funny man, I'm the funny guy. Woohoo. Just had a brain attack. So, yes, PlayStation 1, but construction. Now, the big reveal. What's it gonna be? Who's gonna win? Well, Oh no, I don't get to do the big reveal yet. Alright, here we go. Big reveal. Big reveal time. Where's the big reveal? And I've taken these numbers. I took all these numbers.